When you hear the words Captain Morgan, what comes to mind? You may have thought of this particular rum called Captain Morgan's Original Spiced Rum. You may have pictured a pirate like this one on the slideshow here, with a thick black beard. Who is this mysterious pirate? Sir Henry Morgan was born in Wales. Not those Wales, but this Wales, around 1635. He didn't like the idea of becoming a farmer like his father, but wanted to try for a more interesting career. He left to England and was encouraged to join a ship on its voyage to the West Indies. Not until he was on this ship did he realize that he was sold as a slave and would have to earn back his freedom once he got to Barbados. In 1654, piracy became an option for him to escape being a servant. He joined General Venables and Vice Admiral William Penn. They attempted to raid Spanish Santo Domingo, but they failed. Then they moved on to Jamaica, where they succeeded to capture in May 1655. Then Morgan joined the ranks as a privateer. The privateer, also known as corsairs or buccaneer, was someone who actually was authorized by the government to raid foreign ships and ports during war to capture them and take goods. Basically, a legal pirate. The proceeds were then divided among the sailors. When England and Spain were fighting, he just did regular pirate things, or fishing and logging. Sir Henry Morgan worked for the English governor of the overrun Jamaica to capture Spanish prisoners. Captain Morgan used large sailing ships for his missions. There were as many as 1,200 men in up to 30 ships that made up his crew. His personal flagship was titled Satisfaction. Colonial ships usually had 3 masts and 3 decks. There would be an upper deck, a gun hold, and a cargo deck. There were many different roles and jobs of the pirate crew on the ship. There were captains, of course, the first mate, or right-hand man, the quartermaster, or second in charge, the boatswain, or maintenance, repair, and oversee junior officer, the gunners, which are artillery, the powder monkey, or young men in gun crew, carpenters, swabs, cooks, surgeons, and musicians. Swab the deck, matey. The pirate flags were a good way to communicate with oncoming ships, to give a clear message to stay away, back off, no mercy, etc. Sometimes a national flag was flown to identify the ship, and also used as a strategy to fool another ship that you were a friend when you actually weren't. Sometimes a solid color flag was flown before they came up with the symbols. Black meant death unless you surrender. Red meant no mercy. White meant in pursuit, you must surrender. Then the pirates got creative and even more nasty with their messages and had symbols of blood and pierced hearts, and the common skull and crossbones on their flag. The pirates would prefer to give a cannon shot warning and have a ship surrender and avoid battle. If a ship was well known for being super evil and nasty, all it would take is for another ship to see their flag, and that would be it. They wouldn't even try to take them. If the ship didn't surrender, they would use grenades or muskets. Sink pots were clay pots full of sulfur or rotten fish and other stinky treasure to make their victims lose concentration from the stench. Pistols were also used, cutlass, swords, daggers, and axes. It's always a good idea to keep good company. Henry met many people along his journeys. Some were good for his career and others were enemies. One famous captain he met in his youth, Christopher Mings, helped him gain more naval experience. Later he met Sir Thomas Moidford, who became a good friend. He was the new governor of Jamaica, and because they were friends, Morgan got promoted to a vice admiral of the Jamaican fleet. On one mission, he won over Puerto Principe and got 50,000 pieces of 8, a Spanish dollar. When he wanted a ransom to not destroy Panama, he got 250,000 pieces of 8. He left Panama with over 100,000 pounds of stolen goods and other treasures. He was one of the most successful and famous pirates ever, and retired with lots of wealth and land. Henry Morgan went on many raids. His three most famous were in 1668, when he attacked on Portobello, in 1669 with the raid of Maracaibo, Venezuela, and 1671 his attack on Panama. This is the battle at Puerto de Principal. When the pirates weren't busy taking care of the needs of the ship, they would spend their time sleeping, singing, playing card games, and dancing. They spent a lot of their time below deck where it was dark, wet, and dirty. Many of the men got sick, and their untreated wounds would get infections. They didn't have good food to eat, mostly salted pork and hard biscuits. If they were lucky, there would be chickens on board to give them meat and eggs. Sometimes, when times were desperate, they made soup from bones or chewed on old leather. They even ran out of water at times and just drank rum and beer. Eventually, the English decided to remove Henry Morgan from his position, as things had gotten a little out of hand. He was ordered to return to England and was no longer allowed to work for the Navy. He was so famous and people were in awe of him that he wasn't punished for all the crazy things he had done. Instead, they gave him a position as the Lieutenant Governor of Jamaica. He lived out his final days as a celebrity. He spent his last days just drinking and running his estates and probably telling old war tales. He died in 1688, most likely from his drinking. They gave him quite the memorial, with the ships in the harbor firing their guns in salute. Archaeologists have recently discovered what they think is Captain Morgan's flagship in central Panama. Buried on the ocean floor, they could only see 2 inches of the hull of the ship, and dug to find more of the ship and several wooden chests. Captain Morgan is known as one of the greatest and most successful pirates ever. There are places still named after him, such as Morgan's Valley in Jamaica and Morgan's Cave on the San Andreas Island. The most common thing for us to notice here is as him being the mascot for the Captain Morgan brands of spiced rum and spirits. There are hotels and resorts named for him, as well as any number of small businesses in the places he went. There are many pirate books and movies around which are popular. You may have seen Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Henry Morgan is talked about during that movie as being one of the pirates who maybe created the Breton Courts Pirates Code. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a good day.